The transport ship shuddered as it docked with Station Kepler-7. Commander Jake Morrison gripped the armrest, not from fear but from anticipation. This was it, humanity's first real introduction to the galaxy. 3 years after Earth detected the signal, 2 years after learning they weren't alone, and 6 months after being invited to this summit, they were finally here. Docking complete, the pilot announced over the intercom. Welcome to the Galactic Council, Commander. Jake stood and straightened his dress uniform. Beside him, Dr. Lisa Hayes gathered her data tablets, her hands moving with practiced efficiency. She was Earth's leading xenobiologist, though until recently that had been a theoretical field. Now it was very real. Greg Palmer, their security chief, checked his sidearm one last time before holstering it. He caught Jake's look and shrugged. Old habits, Greg said with a slight smile. Let's hope we don't need old habits here, Jake replied. The airlock opened with a hiss. The corridor beyond was enormous, easily 30 feet high with curved walls that seemed to glow with their own light. The gravity felt wrong immediately. Jake took a step and nearly stumbled as his foot left the ground longer than expected. It was like walking on the moon, though not quite that extreme. 0.4 gravities, Lisa said, reading from her tablet. About 40% of Earth normal. Watch your step. A delegation waited for them in the corridor. At the front stood a creature that Jake's briefings had identified as Varani. She was tall and slender, almost impossibly so, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. Her limbs seemed too thin to support her body, but she moved with fluid grace in the low gravity. Behind her stood representatives of other species. There was a group of insectoid creatures with multiple arms, and floating near the ceiling were beings that seemed to be made of light and gas, contained in transparent bubbles. Welcome to Station Kepler-7, the Varani said. Her voice came from a translator device on her chest, smooth and pleasant. I am Ambassador Thelxus of the Varani Collective. On behalf of the Galactic Council, we greet Earth and its representatives. Jake stepped forward, moving carefully in the reduced gravity. Thank you, Ambassador. I'm Commander Jake Morrison. This is Dr. Lisa Hayes and Chief Greg Palmer. Earth is honored to be here. Thelxus's eyes traveled over them, and Jake saw something flicker in her expression. Was that amusement? Indeed. We are curious to meet a species from such an unusual world. Your planet's gravity is quite remarkable. 1 full standard unit. Very few species evolve under such harsh conditions. One of the insectoid creatures chittered, and its translator rendered the sound into words. Heavy worlder, so rare. Must be difficult, yes? To carry such bulk? Jake felt a flash of irritation but kept his face neutral. We manage just fine. Of course, the insect said, though its tone suggested otherwise. The Kresh are impressed by any species that survives such adversity. Your muscles must work very hard, yes? Shall we proceed to the welcome ceremony? Thelxus said, gesturing down the corridor. We have prepared accommodations suited to your physical requirements. The council is eager to begin discussions. They walked through the station, and Jake couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Aliens of dozens of species stopped to stare at the humans. Some whispered to each other. Others simply gaped. One small creature, barely 2 feet tall with large ears, actually pointed and giggled. Lisa moved closer to Jake. Are they always this rude? She whispered. Cultural differences, Jake said, though he didn't believe it. This felt like something else. This felt like mockery. The welcome ceremony was held in a massive chamber that could have held a football stadium. Hundreds of beings from across the galaxy filled the space, floating, standing, or resting on various perches and platforms. The humans were led to a platform near the center, positioned so everyone could see them. A holographic display appeared above them, showing Earth rotating slowly. Thelxus spoke to the assembly, her voice amplified across the chamber. Today we welcome our newest applicant species to the Galactic Council. Humanity, from the 3rd planet of a yellow star they call Sol. Earth is classified as a Class 9 death world, with gravity measuring 1 full standard unit, toxic oxygen atmosphere at dangerous concentration levels, and extreme temperature variations. It is remarkable that any complex life evolved there at all, much less a species capable of space travel. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Jake heard the words Death World repeated many times, along with tones that suggested pity or disbelief. These humans, Thelxus continued, have adapted to their harsh environment through biological extremes. Note their dense skeletal structure, their excessive muscular development, their primitive yet effective cardiovascular system. They are in many ways a testament to evolution's ability to overcome even the most hostile conditions. The hologram changed to show anatomical diagrams of human bodies. Jake felt his jaw clench. They were being presented like zoo animals. While their technology is relatively primitive, Thelixus said, we believe humanity may have unique perspectives to offer the Council. Their aggressive nature and physical capabilities, while crude, may prove useful in certain limited applications. The ceremony continued for another hour. Various species gave speeches, most of them condescending in tone. The humans were praised for their tenacity and brute force, while being reminded of their technological and cultural inferiority. By the time it ended, Jake was ready to punch something. The reception afterward was worse. It was held in a banquet hall with gravity set even lower, just under 0.4. Long tables floated at various heights laden with foods from dozens of worlds. The humans were given a private table, and Jake noticed it was set apart from the others. Quarantined almost. Ambassador Thelixus approached with another Virani, younger and less decorated. This is Cielra. She will serve as your liaison during your stay. If you need anything, she will assist you. Cielra bowed slightly, her movement graceful. It is an honor to serve. Please, if you have any difficulties adapting to our environment, do not hesitate to ask for help. We're fine, Greg said, his voice flat. Of course, Cielra said quickly. I only meant that with your physical challenges, the low gravity might be disorienting. Physical challenges? Lisa asked, her tone dangerous. Cielra seemed confused by the reaction. Yes, your heavy world adaptation. It must be difficult for you here, yes? Everything must feel too light, too fragile. You must be careful not to break things with your strength. Before anyone could respond, a group of Kresh approached. The insectoid creatures chittered amongst themselves, their translators producing a rapid-fire conversation. Are they real? One asked. They look so soft. No exoskeleton at all. And those eyes, another said. Forward-facing. Predator eyes. How primitive. Can they even see properly? A third wondered. Such limited vision range. Lisa set down her drink carefully. We can hear you, she said. The Kresh seemed startled. Oh, apologies. We meant no offense. We are simply fascinated. You are so different from anything we know. Different isn't primitive, Lisa said. Of course not, the Kresh said, though his tone suggested he thought otherwise. Tell me, is it true you can only survive on your world? That leaving it is dangerous for your biology? We're here, aren't we? Greg said. Yes, but for how long? Surely you cannot live away from your heavy world for extended periods. Your bodies must require the pressure, yes? Jake was about to respond when Lisa pulled out her pen and tablet to take notes. She wanted to record these interactions for her report. As she wrote, her hand moved perhaps a bit too quickly, adjusting to the low gravity. The pen slipped from her fingers. It happened fast. The pen fell, dropping through the 0.4 gravity of the station. But it didn't fall slowly like everything else in this place. It fell at a speed that made the nearby aliens gasp. It hit the crystalline floor with a sharp crack. The sound echoed through the suddenly silent hall. Everyone turned to look. The pen lay on the floor, and spreading out from it like a frozen spider web was a crack in the crystal. The damage spread slowly, tiny lines branching out from the impact point. By the ancestors, Thelixus breathed. What was that? Lisa stared at the floor in horror. I'm so sorry. I just dropped my pen. I didn't mean... How is that possible? Cielra asked, her voice filled with wonder and fear. A writing implement. It just fell. And it damaged the floor? A crowd was gathering now. Aliens of all types pressed closer, staring at the cracked crystal. The Kresh were chittering frantically. The floating Etheri descended from the ceiling to get a better look. The impact force, one of the Etheri said. Its voice like wind chimes. Calculate the mass, the acceleration, the velocity at impact. It's impossible. A small object falling in 0.4 gravity should not have enough force to damage reinforced crystal. Unless, another voice said, the object came from a world with much higher gravity. An object designed to exist at one full standard unit. Jake suddenly understood. On Earth, Lisa's pen was just a pen. Lightweight, simple, ordinary. But it was made to exist in one full gravity. Its materials, its density, everything about it was calibrated for Earth's crushing pressure. Here in this low gravity, it still carried all that density, all that mass. When it fell, even in reduced gravity, it fell with force these aliens had never encountered. The morning after the pen incident, Jake woke to the sound of his communicator buzzing. He grabbed it from the bedside table, noting how it floated back down slowly when he set it down wrong. Everything here moved like it was underwater. Morrison here. Commander, this is Station Administrator Velkos. The Council has requested an emergency session regarding yesterday's incident. Your presence is required in 2 hours. Jake sat up. Emergency session? It was just a dropped pen. The Council does not view it that way. Please be prompt. The line went dead. Lisa and Greg were already awake when Jake met them for breakfast in their assigned quarters. The room was built for human gravity preferences, with adjustable settings that could go up to 0.8. It wasn't home, but it helped. Did you get the summons? Lisa asked, pushing her eggs around her plate. Even the food here felt wrong in the low gravity. Yeah. What do you think this is about? Greg leaned back in his chair, which was bolted to the floor to prevent it from floating away. They're scared. You saw their faces last night. That pen hitting the floor changed something. It was an accident, Lisa said. I explained that already. Doesn't matter, Greg replied. They're realizing we're not what they thought we were. The council chamber was even more packed than the day before. Jake spotted representatives from species he hadn't seen yet. Word had spread fast. The humans were led to a platform in the center, surrounded by tiers of seating that rose up like an amphitheater. Hundreds of eyes watched them. Thelixis stood at a podium, her expression unreadable. This council convenes to address concerns regarding the human delegation and their compatibility with station infrastructure and galactic standards. Jake felt his stomach sink. They were going to kick them out before they even had a chance. Yesterday, Thelixis continued, an incident occurred that has raised questions about safety protocols. A human dropped a small writing instrument, and it caused structural damage to reinforced crystal flooring rated for impacts up to 500 newtons of force. Our engineers have analyzed the damage and calculated that the impact exceeded 1,000 newtons. Murmurs spread through the chamber. 1,000 newtons from a dropped pen. Jake could do the math. That was the force of a small hammer blow. A Kresh representative stood, his translator crackling to life. This is unacceptable. If their simple objects cause such damage, what about the humans themselves? They are walking hazards. We propose restricting their movement to specially reinforced areas only. Seconded, called another voice from the crowd. Jake stepped forward. May I speak? Thelixis gestured her permission. The floor recognizes Commander Morrison. We understand your concerns, Jake said, choosing his words carefully. But restricting our movement treats us like prisoners, not potential allies. Yes, we come from a high-gravity world. Yes, our objects and our bodies are denser than yours. But we didn't come here to cause damage. We came here to learn and to share. Noble words, said a floating ethereal. But words do not repair cracked floors or prevent future incidents. You say you wish to share. What can you share besides brute force? Before Jake could respond, Lisa stepped forward. If I may, Commander. Jake nodded and Lisa addressed the council. I'm a scientist. I study life in all its forms. Before we came here, I spent my entire career theorizing about what alien life might be like. Now I'm here, surrounded by wonders I never imagined. I would love nothing more than to share what I've learned about Earth's biology and learn about yours in return. Your biology is an evolutionary dead end, said a Varani scientist in the upper tiers. Extreme adaptation to extreme conditions. Useful only in your specific environment. Is it? Lisa asked. May I give a demonstration? Thelixis looked uncertain but nodded. Proceed. Lisa walked to the center of the platform. On Earth, physical fitness is important. We have exercises we do to maintain our strength and health. One simple exercise is called a push-up. May I demonstrate? If you wish, Thelixis said. Lisa got down on the floor, hands flat, body straight. Then she lowered herself and pushed back up. Then again. And again. She kept going, her movement smooth and controlled. The aliens watched in confusion at first, but as she passed 20, then 30, then 40 repetitions without stopping or showing strain, the confusion turned to shock. At 50, she stood up, not even breathing hard. On Earth, in our gravity, that exercise is much harder. Here in 0.4 gravity, it's actually quite easy for me. But the point is this, our bodies are built for those conditions. We're not fragile. We're not weak. We're adapted. Adapted for violence, muttered someone in the crowd. Adapted for survival, Lisa corrected. There's a difference. The session continued for another hour, with various council members asking questions about human physiology, Earth's environment, and potential risks. Finally, Thelxers called for a vote on the restriction proposal. It failed, but barely. The humans would be allowed to move freely, but they were assigned Cielra as a permanent liaison and monitor. After the session, Cielra found them in the corridor. She looked embarrassed. "I apologize for the council's treatment. Many of them are simply afraid of what they don't understand." "And you?" Greg asked. "Are you afraid?" Cielra considered the question. "I am cautious, but I am also curious. Your species is unlike anything we've encountered. Most Deathworld species never develop space travel. They're too busy surviving. But you did. That suggests something special. Or something desperate," Lisa said quietly. Over the next few days, an uneasy routine developed. The humans attended council meetings, toured the station, and tried to learn about galactic society. But everywhere they went, they were watched. Aliens would stop and stare. Some would whisper. Others would move away when the humans approached. On the fourth day, Greg was helping move supplies in one of the cargo bays. A shipment of medical equipment had arrived, and the creche workers were struggling with the crates. Greg watched them for a moment. 4 of them were working together to lift a single crate, their multiple limbs straining with effort. "Need a hand?" Greg asked. The creche turned, startled. "Human, we did not see you." "Yes, this container is quite heavy. It requires 4 workers minimum." Greg walked over and looked at the crate. It was about the size of a footlocker, marked with handling instructions in several languages. He bent down, gripped the handles, and lifted. The crate came up easily. In the station's low gravity, it felt like lifting a bag of groceries. "Where do you want it?" Greg asked. The creche stared at him, their mandibles hanging open. You lifted it, alone, with no assistance. With no effort." Greg shrugged and carried the crate to the designated area. "It's not that heavy. Maybe 100 pounds back home, here? Maybe feels like 40. That crate," one of the creche said slowly, "weighs 120 standard units. It requires specialized lifting equipment or 4 workers minimum. You lifted it like it was nothing." Word of Greg's casual display of strength spread as quickly as the pen incident had. That evening, Lisa was invited to present to the Science Consortium, a gathering of the galaxy's leading researchers. She prepared a detailed presentation on human biology, complete with diagrams and data. The lecture hall was packed. Scientists from dozens of species filled every available space. Lisa stood at the podium, her notes displayed on a holographic screen behind her. "Thank you for inviting me," she began. "Today I want to talk about how Earth's gravity shaped human evolution. Our planet isn't just our home. It's the forge that made us what we are." She brought up an image of a human skeleton. "This is our skeletal structure. Note the density. Human bones are incredibly strong, designed to support our body weight and absorb impact in 1 gravity conditions. The average human bone can withstand pressure of over 12,000 pounds per square inch." A murmur ran through the crowd. One scientist raised a manipulator. "That seems excessive. Why would such strength be necessary?" "Because we fall," Lisa said simply. "On Earth, children learn to walk by falling down hundreds of times. Adults trip, stumble, and sometimes fall from significant heights. Our bones had to be strong enough to survive those impacts. A fall that would kill most of you would give us a bruise." She moved to the next slide, showing the human muscular system. Our muscles are similarly dense. The average human can lift their own body weight without training. With training, they can lift several times their weight. This isn't because we're special. It's because Earth demands it. "But surely," another scientist said, "such extreme physical development must come at a cost. Reduced cognitive ability, perhaps. Lower fine motor control." Lisa smiled. "Actually, no. Our brains are quite capable and our fine motor control is excellent. Would you like a demonstration?" She produced a deck of cards from her pocket. Then, in the low gravity of the station, she performed a series of card tricks, her fingers moving with precision and speed. She shuffled, cut, and manipulated the cards with ease, finishing with a flourish that sent the cards cascading in a perfect arc, before catching them all. The scientists applauded, a gesture that seemed universal even among species with no hands. "You see," Lisa said, "we're not brutes. We're not limited. We're just different. Earth made us strong, but it also made us clever. Because strength without intelligence doesn't ensure survival on a death world." You need both. The Krillak warship emerged from faster-than-light travel like a predator, materializing from shadow. It was massive, easily 3 times the size of any vessel docked at Station Kepler-7, its hull covered in what looked like armor plating. Jake watched it approach from the observation deck, Greg and Lisa beside him. "That's not a diplomatic vessel," Greg said quietly. "That's a warship." "The Krillak don't make distinctions," Cielra said, approaching from behind. She had been with the humans constantly since the announcement. "To them, all ships are war vessels. Peace is simply war delayed." "Cheerful folks," Lisa muttered. The station's alert system chimed softly. "All personnel are advised that Krillak delegation will be boarding in 30 minutes. Non-essential personnel should clear Docking Bay 7. Jake turned to Cielra. "Should we be there?" "The Council requests your presence, yes. They want to show the Krillak that they have diverse support. Also, I suspect they hope your presence might make them reconsider their demands." "We're supposed to intimidate them?" Greg asked, perhaps. Or perhaps the Council simply wants someone else strong in the room when the Krillak make threats. The docking bay was enormous, designed to accommodate large vessels and crews. When Jake and his team arrived, they found Ambassador Thelixis and a dozen other Council representatives already there. The Varani looked nervous, her normally fluid grace replaced with stiff, careful movements. "Commander Morrison," she greeted. "Thank you for coming. Stand with us, please. Show unity." The humans took their positions just as the airlock began to cycle. The bay's gravity had been increased to 0.7 to accommodate the Krillak. Jake felt the change immediately. It was closer to Earth normal, though still not quite right. He adjusted his stance automatically. The airlock opened and the Krillak entered. They were massive. The first one through the door stood at least 7 feet tall, with broad shoulders and a thick muscular build. His skin was covered in what looked like natural armor plates, dark gray and rough textured. His head was large, with small eyes set deep under a heavy brow ridge. Behind him came 4 more warriors, all similarly built, all radiating barely contained aggression. But it was the leader who commanded attention. He was even larger than the others, with scars visible across his armor plates and a presence that filled the room. This was someone who had fought and won many battles. "I am War Chief Dreknor of the Krillak Empire," he announced, his voice deep and resonant even through the translator. "I come with demands from the High Command." Thelixis stepped forward, her movement careful in the higher gravity. "Welcome to Station Kepler-7, War Chief. We are prepared to discuss—" "There is nothing to discuss," Dreknor interrupted. "The 3 border systems we have claimed are now Krillak territory. You will officially cede them within 10 cycles or we will take them by force. Your agreement is not required. Your compliance is." "Those systems have independent colonies," Thelixis said, her voice strained. "Billions of lives. You cannot simply—" "We can. We will." Dreknor's eyes scanned the assembled group, dismissing them one by one. Then his gaze landed on the humans and he paused. "What are these?" "Representatives from Earth," Thelixis said. "They are weak," Dreknor said flatly. "Small, soft-skinned, why are they here?" Jake felt the insult like a physical blow, but he kept his face neutral. Beside him, Greg's hand moved slightly toward his sidearm before stopping. "Not the time. Not yet." "They are from a one-gravity world," Cielra said, speaking up. "They are stronger than they appear." Dreknor laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. "One gravity? Impossible. No species from a true heavy world would look so fragile. These are lies to make your position seem stronger than it is." He walked toward Jake, his footsteps heavy even in the 0.7 gravity. Up close, the war chief was even more imposing. He outweighed Jake by at least 100 pounds, all of it muscle and armor. "You," Dreknor said, looking down at Jake. "You claim to be from a heavy world?" "I don't claim anything," Jake said evenly. "I'm from Earth. Our gravity is 1 standard unit. Prove it." "How?" Dreknor smiled, showing teeth designed for tearing. "Fight me. In the arena. Tomorrow. We will see if you are truly from a heavy world or if you are just another weak species pretending to be strong." The room went silent. Thelixis made a small sound of distress. "War Chief, there is no need for violence. We can discuss this matter peacefully." "I am discussing it peacefully," Dreknor said. "A fight in the arena is peace. War is what happens if he refuses." Jake looked at the Krillak warrior, calculating. This was a test. Refuse, and they would look weak. Humanity would be dismissed, and the Council would have no leverage. Accept, and he might die. The Krillak were from a 0.7 gravity world. They were built for combat, and Dreknor looked like he had never lost a fight in his life. I accept, Jake said. No, Lisa said immediately. Jake, you can't. I accept the challenge, Jake repeated louder. Tomorrow. What are the terms? Dreknor's smile widened. 0.5 gravity. Blunted weapons. First to yield or fall unconscious loses. No permanent damage intended, but accidents happen in combat. Understood. Good. Dreknor turned and walked toward the airlock. Tomorrow, then. We will see what Earth is made of. He paused at the threshold. Oh, and Council? My answer regarding the border systems is unchanged. Comply or face invasion. You have 10 cycles. The Krillak left, and the moment the airlock closed, chaos erupted. You cannot do this, Delexis said, rushing to Jake. The Krillak have never lost an arena challenge. Dreknor himself has killed 3 opponents in non-lethal matches. This is suicide. Maybe, Jake said. But it's better than looking weak. Better to look weak than to be dead, Sealra said softly. Greg put a hand on Jake's shoulder. We need to talk, privately. Back in their quarters with the gravity set to 0.8, the 3 humans sat in tense silence. Finally, Lisa spoke. This is insane. You saw him. He's massive. He's built for combat. He's killed people in the arena. I know, Jake said. Then why did you accept? Because if I didn't, we'd have no credibility. The Council is terrified of the Krillak, because they're the strongest species in the galaxy. If we back down from them, we're just another weak species. But if I can hold my own, even if I lose, it shows we're serious. And if you die? Lisa asked. Then I die doing something that mattered. Greg stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. You're not going to die. You don't know that. No, I mean you're really not going to die. Because you're going to win, Jake laughed bitterly. Win? Against a 7-foot warrior from a heavy world who's been fighting his whole life. Greg turned and there was something fierce in his eyes. Yeah, against him. Because he's not from a heavy world. Not really. He's from a 0.7 gravity world. We're from a 1 gravity world. Do the math, Jake. That's only 0.3 difference, Lisa said. That's 43% more gravity, Greg countered. Every single day of Jake's life, he's been carrying 43% more weight than anything Dreknor has experienced. Every step, every movement, every action has been in heavier gravity. The fight is in 0.5 gravity, Jake said. Exactly. Which means Dreknor will be fighting in about 71% of his normal gravity. He'll be lighter, faster, but also less controlled. You know what percentage of Earth's gravity is 0.5? Jake did the math. 50%. Right. Half. You've trained in full gravity your whole life. You've fought in full gravity. I know you have. I saw your military record. Hand-to-hand combat training in the Marines. 3 years of it. All in full Earth gravity. Combat training and real fighting are different, Jake said. True. But so is training in your gravity versus training in his. In 0.5 gravity, you'll be faster and stronger than you've ever been in your life. Dreknor will be comfortable, but you'll be superhuman. Lisa pulled up her tablet, running calculations. Greg's right. Muscle strength doesn't decrease linearly with gravity. In lower gravity, you maintain your muscle mass and strength. But the resistance decreases. If your muscles are used to lifting your body weight in 1 gravity, they'll be able to lift much more than your body weight in 0.5 gravity. How much more? Jake asked, conservatively. Maybe twice as much. Maybe more, Greg nodded. And there's something else, speed. Dreknor is used to fighting in 0.7 gravity. That's his normal. Every punch, every kick, every movement he's ever made has been calibrated for that gravity. You drop him to 0.5 and he'll have to recalculate everything. But you've trained in 1 full gravity. Drop you to 0.5 and you'll be operating at half resistance. You'll be so much faster than anything he's prepared for. Jake felt a small spark of hope. You really think I can win? I think you can destroy him, Greg said flatly. But only if we prepare right. We've got 1 day. Let's use it. They spent the night training in the quarters with the gravity set to simulate the arena conditions. Greg, a former Marine hand-to-hand combat instructor, drilled Jake on fighting techniques adapted for low gravity. Lisa studied Krillak physiology, looking for weak points. Their armor is natural, but it has gap, she said, highlighting areas on a holographic display. Joints, neck, under the arms. That's where they're vulnerable. Don't go for kills, Greg warned. This is supposed to be non-lethal. But make him feel every hit. Make him. The arena was a massive circular space carved from the center of Station Kepler-7. Thousands of aliens packed the tiered seating that rose up on all sides, their voices creating a noise that reminded Jake of wind before a storm. Lights hung from above, illuminating the fighting floor that was marked with a wide circle. Outside that circle was defeat. Inside was battle. Jake walked to the center, his footsteps echoing. The gravity here was exactly 0.5 as promised. Each step felt strange, like walking on a trampoline. He bounced slightly with each movement. His body wanted to float. He had to consciously control his steps to stay grounded. Across the arena, another door opened. Dreknor emerged and the crowd roared. The Krillak war chief raised his arms, acknowledging the attention. He wore minimal armor now, just covering his vitals. His muscled form was even more impressive in the arena lights. In his hands, he carried a blunted staff weapon, about 6 feet long with padded ends. Jake carried a similar weapon. It had been offered as a choice: staff, sword, or hand-to-hand only. Greg had advised the staff. Reach advantage, he'd said, and you can use it defensively. An announcement boomed across the arena in multiple languages. Combat challenge. War Chief Dreknor of the Krillak Empire versus Commander Jake Morrison of Earth. Standard arena rules. Fight until submission or unconsciousness. Lethal force is forbidden but not impossible. May the stronger warrior prevail, the crowd cheered. Jake saw Thelxis in a special viewing box, her face tight with worry. Beside her sat other council members, all looking anxious. In another section, he spotted Lisa and Greg. Lisa had her hands clasped together. Greg gave him a single nod. Dreknor walked to the center of the circle, stopping about 10 feet from Jake. Up close, in the fighting stance, he looked even more dangerous. His muscles were coiled, ready. His small eyes were focused and calm. This was someone who had done this many times before. Last chance to yield, Dreknor said, his voice carrying across the silent arena. I will try not to kill you, but accidents happen. I won't yield, Jake said. Then you are brave. Foolish, but brave. I will remember you died with honor. A tone sounded high and clear. The fight had begun. Dreknor charged immediately, his staff raised for a crushing overhead blow. He moved fast, faster than something his size should move. But Jake was already moving. He sidestepped, the movement feeling almost lazy in the low gravity. Dreknor's staff came down where Jake had been standing, hitting the floor with a crack. Jake swung his own staff at Dreknor's ribs. It connected solid. He felt the impact through his hands. But Dreknor barely flinched. The natural armor absorbed most of the blow. The war chief spun, his staff whistling through the air. Jake ducked, feeling the weapon pass over his head. Too close. He backpedaled, creating distance. First blood, Dreknor said, grinning. You are fast. Good. This will be interesting. They circled each other, and Jake started to feel the difference in gravity. Every movement wanted to continue. Every step wanted to become a leap. His body, trained for Earth's crushing gravity, was suddenly unleashed. It was like removing weights he'd worn his entire life. Dreknor attacked again. A series of quick strikes aimed at Jake's head and torso. Jake blocked them, his staff meeting the war chief's weapon with sharp cracks. But blocking felt effortless. The impacts that should have jarred his arms barely registered. Then Jake understood what Greg had meant. His muscles, built to support his body weight against one full gravity, were now operating at half that resistance. Every movement had twice the power behind it. Every block was twice as strong. He tested it with a counterattack. He swung the staff with what felt like normal force on Earth. The staff moved so fast it was almost a blur. It caught Dreknor across the shoulder, and for the first time the war chief staggered. The crowd gasped. Dreknor looked at Jake with new eyes. Stronger than you look, he acknowledged. Then he roared and charged again. This time Jake didn't retreat. He moved forward to meet the charge, reading the attack. Dreknor's staff came in high. Jake ducked under it and slammed his staff into the war chief's knee. Not the armored part, the gap Lisa had shown him where the armor plates separated to allow movement. Dreknor grunted in pain and stumbled. Jake was already moving, his body flowing through the techniques Greg had drilled into him. In the low gravity, martial arts became something else entirely. He could move faster, change direction instantly, attack from angles that would be impossible on Earth. He struck Dreknor's other knee, then spun and caught him across the back. The war chief tried to turn, tried to bring his weapon around, but Jake was too fast. Another strike to the ribs, this one making Dreknor wheeze. Then one to the shoulder, causing the Krillak to drop his staff. The crowd was on its feet now, screaming. Jake heard his name being chanted, mixed with alien sounds he didn't understand. But he couldn't focus on that. He had to focus on Dreknor. The war chief abandoned his weapon and rushed Jake, arms spread to grapple. It was a smart move. Without the staff, it became a test of pure strength, and Dreknor was massive. If he got his arms around Jake, it would be over. Jake dropped his own staff and met the grapple. Their hands locked together and they pushed against each other, each trying to force the other back. Dreknor's strength was immense. His muscles bulged. His face contorted with effort, but Jake held him. More than that, Jake pushed back. In one full gravity, Dreknor would have been stronger. His mass and natural power would have been too much. But here, in 0.5 gravity, mass mattered less. What mattered was muscle density, bone strength, the power of each individual fiber. And Jake's muscles had been forged in twice this gravity. Every fiber had been built to push against Earth's crushing weight. Here they were unleashed. He pushed, and Dreknor's feet slid backward across the floor. The war chief's eyes widened in shock. He tried to dig in, tried to use his weight as leverage, but in the low gravity, weight meant less. Jake pushed harder, and Dreknor stumbled. Jake didn't let up. He released one hand from the grapple, grabbed Dreknor's arm, and used the momentum to throw the war chief. In Earth gravity, it would have been a simple hip toss. Here, in 0.5 gravity, Dreknor flew. He sailed through the air for 10 feet before crashing to the ground. The crowd went silent. Then it erupted in noise like nothing Jake had ever heard. Dreknor rolled and came to his feet, but slower now. He was breathing hard. Blood dripped from his mouth where he'd bitten his tongue in the fall. He looked at Jake with something between respect and disbelief. "You are from a heavy world," he said. "Truly, I see it now." "I tried to tell you," Jake said. "Words are nothing. This is truth." Dreknor raised his fists. "Come then. Let us finish this properly. Warrior to warrior." They came together again, but this time there was no grappling. They traded blows fist to fist. Dreknor was skilled, his technique refined through countless battles. But Jake was faster. Every punch he threw had the force of his earth-trained muscles behind it. Every block was rock solid. He caught Dreknor with a right cross to the jaw. The war chief's head snapped back. Jake followed with a left to the ribs, then another right, this time to the solar plexus. Dreknor doubled over, gasping. Jake could have finished it there, could have kicked Dreknor while he was down, forced him out of the circle or into unconsciousness. But Lisa's words came back to him. Show them strength, but also control. He stepped back, giving Dreknor space to recover. The war chief straightened slowly, one hand pressed to his ribs. He looked at Jake with something that might have been gratitude. "You show mercy," Dreknor said. "That is weakness. That's restraint," Jake corrected. "There's a difference." "Perhaps." Dreknor took a fighting stance again, but his movements were slower now. He was hurt. Jake could see it in the way he favored his left side, the way his breathing was labored. They circled each other one more time. The crowd was chanting now, a mix of sounds that somehow felt unified. They were watching something they'd never seen before, a Krillak war chief being beaten. Dreknor attacked one last time, a desperate lunge meant to catch Jake off guard. But Jake was ready. He sidestepped, caught Dreknor's arm, and used the war chief's own momentum against him. It was a move called a shoulder throw on Earth. Here, in the low gravity, it was devastating. Dreknor flew again, this time higher and farther. He hit the ground hard, rolled, and came to rest just inside the circle line. He tried to get up, got to one knee, then collapsed back down. The referee, a small alien in a protective bubble, floated down to check on Dreknor. After a moment, it announced, "War Chief Dreknor is unable to continue." Victor, Commander Jake Morrison of Earth. The arena exploded with sound. Aliens of every species were on their feet, some cheering, some simply staring in shock. The humans, all three of them, had tears in their eyes. Jake walked over to Dreknor. The war chief was sitting up now, helped by the referee. His face was bruised, his breathing heavy. But when he saw Jake approach, he held up a hand. Jake took it and helped pull Dreknor to his feet. The war chief swayed but stayed upright. He looked at Jake for a long moment, then did something unexpected. He placed his fist over his heart and bowed his head. "I am defeated," Dreknor said loudly so the entire arena could hear. "Defeated by a warrior from a true heavy world. I acknowledge Jake." The council chamber was different now. Jake noticed it the moment he walked in. Where before the aliens had looked at him with amusement or condescension, now they looked with something else. Respect. Caution. Maybe even fear. 3 days had passed since the arena fight. 3 days of constant meetings, interviews, and discussions. The footage of Jake defeating Dreknor had spread across the galaxy at light speed, transmitted through the vast communication networks that connected thousands of worlds. Humanity was no longer a curiosity. They were suddenly very, very relevant. Ambassador Thelxus stood at the center podium addressing the full council. We have spent the past days reassessing our understanding of Earth and its people. What we initially dismissed as biological peculiarity, we now recognize as significant capability. The council has several proposals to discuss. Jake sat in the human delegation section, now upgraded to a more prominent position in the chamber. Lisa and Greg flanked him, both looking uncomfortable with the attention. Cielra stood nearby, having been officially assigned as the permanent human liaison. The first proposal, Thelxus continued, comes from the Defense Committee. They request that Earth consider providing military advisors to help train Council security forces. Many of our member species have grown complacent in peacetime. We lack the warrior tradition that Earth clearly possesses. A holographic display appeared, showing a Varani in what looked like combat gear, struggling through an obstacle course. The footage was almost painful to watch. The Varani moved slowly, carefully, obviously exhausted by the physical demands. The course was rated as basic level. Our security personnel are adequate for routine peacekeeping, Thelxus admitted, but inadequate for serious threats. We have relied too long on automated systems and drone technology. The Krillek incident showed us our vulnerability. What exactly are you asking for? Jake asked. Instructors, trainers, humans who can teach us your combat techniques, your physical conditioning methods, your tactical thinking. Thelxus paused. We are not asking you to fight our wars. We are asking you to teach us how to fight. Jake exchanged looks with Lisa and Greg. This was beyond their authority to decide. I would need to consult with Earth's government. This is not a decision we can make alone. We understand, but we wanted to present the request formally. Another council member stood, a Kresh scientist that Jake recognized from Lisa's presentation. I have a proposal as well. An exchange program. We invite human scientists to our research facilities, and we send our scientists to Earth. We have much to learn from each other. Earth has unique perspectives, the Kresh continued. Your evolution in such harsh conditions has given you insights we lack, and we have technologies and knowledge that could benefit your species greatly. A fair exchange. Lisa leaned forward. I would support that. Scientific cooperation could help both our species advance. More proposals came. Trade agreements. Cultural exchanges. Technology sharing. Each proposal treated Earth as an equal partner, not a junior applicant. It was a dramatic shift from just days ago, but not everyone was pleased. A representative from the Korthan Dominion, a species known for their bureaucratic control, spoke up. I must voice concerns. We are moving too quickly. Earth is still unknown to us in many ways. Yes, they are physically capable, but what of their intentions? What of their temperament? Physical strength without moral guidance is dangerous. Are you saying humans are dangerous? Greg asked, his voice hard. I am saying we don't know, the Korthan replied. You have shown us you can fight. You have shown us you can win. But you come from a world where violence is common, where species fight and kill each other. How do we know you won't bring that violence here? Jake stood up. You're right. Earth has a violent history. We've fought wars, killed each other, made terrible mistakes. But we've also learned from those mistakes. We've built civilizations, created art, developed ethics and laws. We're not perfect, but we're trying to be better. Pretty words, the Korthan said. But words are easy. Then judge us by our actions, Jake said. I could have killed Dreknor in that arena. I could have humiliated him, broken him, made an example of him. I didn't. I showed restraint. I showed mercy. Because that's what we learned from all that violence, that strength without control is just destruction. Thelxus nodded slowly. The commander makes a valid point. The Krillek war chief himself acknowledged human honor. That should count for something. The debate continued for hours. Jake found it frustrating how slowly the council moved, how much discussion was needed for every decision. But Cielra explained that this was normal. The council represented hundreds of species with different needs and perspectives. Consensus took time. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Thelexus called for a vote. The Council will now decide on Earth's application for membership. Those in favor? The holographic display showed the votes coming in. Green lights for yes, red for no, yellow for abstention. Jake watched the board fill up with lights. More green than red. Not unanimous, but a clear majority. The motion passes, Thelexus announced. Earth is hereby granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council, pending formal ratification and treaty negotiations. The chamber erupted in mixed reactions. Some species cheered, others looked worried. The humans just sat in stunned silence. They'd done it. Earth was officially part of the galactic community. After the session, there was a reception. Jake found himself surrounded by aliens wanting to talk, to ask questions, to make deals. It was overwhelming. Lisa handled it better, engaging with the scientists who wanted to discuss biology and physics. Greg stood nearby, watching everything with the careful eye of someone trained to spot threats. Dreknor appeared unexpectedly. The Krillak war chief moved through the crowd, which parted before him automatically. He still bore the bruises from their fight, dark marks against his gray skin. He approached Jake directly. War Chief, Jake greeted him. I didn't expect to see you here. I have been in communication with the Krillak High Command, Dreknor said. They wish to open diplomatic relations with Earth, separately from the Council. Oh, the Krillak respect strength. We have seen your strength. We wish to learn more about your world, your people, your warriors. He paused. And perhaps, if you are willing, we wish to train with you. To learn from you. Jake was surprised. You want us to train you? We thought we were the strongest. You proved us wrong. The strong learn from defeat or they become weak. We choose to learn. Dreknor extended his hand. Will you teach us? Jake shook the offered hand. The war chief's grip was still powerful despite his injuries. I'll discuss it with my superiors. But personally, I'd be honored. Good. Dreknor released his hand. Your species has much to teach the galaxy. Not just about fighting, but about honor, about restraint, about strength used wisely. He looked around the room. Many species here have forgotten what true strength is. They hide behind technology, behind walls, behind laws. They have grown soft. Soft isn't always bad, Jake said. Peace is valuable. Peace is valuable when it is earned and defended. Peace without strength is just waiting to be conquered. Dreknor nodded respectfully. But you understand this. Your world taught you. That is why Earth will be important in the years to come. After Dreknor left, Cielra approached with drinks. She had adapted to human customs quickly, learning that offering refreshment was a gesture of friendship. You are handling this well, she said. Not sure about that, Jake admitted. This is all happening so fast. Everything happens fast once momentum begins. She sipped her own drink, something that looked like glowing water. I must tell you something. A confession, perhaps. What is it? When you first arrived, I thought you were primitive, brutish. I felt sorry for you, trapped in bodies built for a harsh world. I thought your evolution was cruel. She met his eyes. I was wrong. Your evolution was not cruel. It was preparation. Preparation for what? For this. For being what the galaxy needs. Cielra gestured to the room. Look around. Most species here have had peace for generations. They have forgotten danger, forgotten threat, forgotten what it means to fight for survival. The Krillak were the only warrior species left, and even they had grown complacent, bullying weaker species. She continued, her voice thoughtful. But Earth never forgot. Your planet never let you forget. Every day gravity reminded you. Every storm, every challenge, every hardship. You had to be strong just to survive. And now when the galaxy faces new threats, Earth is ready. What new threats? Jake asked. Cielra's expression darkened. There are things the Council has not shared with you yet. Threats from beyond our borders. Species and forces that make the Krillak look peaceful. We have been protected by distance and luck, but that is changing. Before Jake could ask more, Ambassador Thelexus interrupted. Commander Morrison, may I have a moment? Cielra excused herself, leaving Jake alone with the Varani ambassador. Thelexus looked tired, her movements less fluid than usual. I want to apologize, she said quietly, for how we treated you when you first arrived. We were dismissive, condescending, we made assumptions based on ignorance. You weren't wrong about everything, Jake said. We are from a harsh world. We are physically different. The transport vessel descended through Earth's atmosphere, and Jake watched the alien diplomats' faces change as they felt true gravity for the first time. Ambassador Thelixis gripped her seat with both hands, her elegant features twisted in concentration. Beside her, Sierra looked pale, her breathing quick and shallow. The 5 other alien representatives, carefully chosen from species most likely to survive the trip, all showed signs of extreme discomfort. "This is only the upper atmosphere," Lisa explained gently from her seat. She had accompanied the delegation back to Earth along with Jake and Greg. "The gravity is still increasing as we descend." "Impossible," wheezed a Kresh scientist named Ventar. "We are already at point 8. How can it increase further?" "Point 8 is where we set the ship's internal gravity," Greg said. "Outside Earth's gravity is already at 1 full unit." The aliens exchanged looks of horror and disbelief. Jake felt a strange mix of pride and sympathy. This was his world. This was home. But seeing it through their eyes, he understood how truly harsh it must seem. The ship landed at Edwards Air Force Base in California. The humans had chosen this location carefully, secure but with access to various demonstrations they had planned. President Helen Clark herself would meet them in Washington. But first, they needed the aliens to understand what Earth really was. "Before we exit," Jake said, addressing the delegation, "I need to make sure you understand. Outside this ship is 1 full gravity. Your support systems and exoskeletons will help, but you will still feel the weight. If at any time you need to return to the ship, just say so. There is no shame in it. We did not come this far to hide in a ship," Thelxis said, though her voice shook slightly. "We wish to see Earth, to understand what made you." The boarding ramp lowered and Earth's air rushed in. Warm California air, carrying scents of desert and distant ocean. The aliens noticed immediately. One of them, a floating ethereal named Drift, struggled to maintain altitude in his containment bubble. "The atmosphere," Drift said, his voice strained. "So dense, so heavy." "That's the oxygen concentration," Lisa explained. "About 21%. It's higher than most habitable worlds." "Poison," Ventar muttered. "Nearly poison levels." "To us it's life," Lisa said. Jake stepped out first, his feet hitting solid ground. Earth gravity wrapped around him like a familiar embrace. He hadn't realized how much he'd missed it. Behind him, the aliens followed slowly, each step visible effort. Thelixis made it down the ramp and stood on Earth soil. Her legs trembled. The exoskeleton she wore whirred and clicked, servos working overtime to support her weight. She took 1 step, then another, each movement careful and measured. "By the ancestors," she breathed. "This is what you live with. Every moment of every day. Since birth," Jake confirmed. Sierra followed, her young face showing the strain. "I feel like I weigh twice as much." "No, 3 times. You probably do, compared to your homeworld," Lisa said. "Your gravity is about 0.35. So yes, you're experiencing almost 3 times your normal weight." "How do you function?" asked another delegate, a tall being called Ralesh from a species that resembled walking plants. "How do you move? How do you work? How do you live?" "You adapt," Greg said simply. "Or you die. Earth doesn't give you a choice." They had arranged for vehicles to transport the delegation, specially modified with enhanced gravity compensation. Even so, the aliens struggled to get inside. Every movement was exhausting for them. What humans did without thought required intense effort and concentration. The first stop was a local elementary school. The principal, Mrs. Karen Hughes, had been briefed and had prepared her students. When the vehicles arrived, children were playing outside during recess. The aliens watched through the vehicle windows, and Jake saw their expressions change from discomfort to wonder to something like horror. Children were running, chasing each other in games of tag, climbing on jungle gyms, swinging from monkey bars, jumping rope, laughing and shouting and moving with an energy and ease that seemed impossible to the watching aliens. "Those are your young?" Thelixis asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Elementary school age," Lisa confirmed. "Between 5 and 11 years old." A boy climbed to the top of the jungle gym, easily 12 feet high, then jumped off. He landed, rolled, and was up and running again without pause. Sierra made a sound of distress. "He fell," she said. "That fall should have broken bones." "Why is he not injured?" "Because Earth children learn to fall," Greg explained. "They fall hundreds of times learning to walk. They climb and jump and test their limits. Their bones are dense, their muscles strong. That jump was nothing to him. Another child picked up her backpack, which Lisa knew from the briefing weighed about 15 pounds, with books and supplies. The girl swung it onto her shoulders without effort and ran to join her friends. The aliens watched in stunned silence. She is carrying 1/5 of her body weight, Bentar calculated. Running with it. Playing with it, as if it weighs nothing. To her it doesn't, Jake said. They exited the vehicle so the children could meet actual aliens. It was a moment carefully choreographed with teachers and security nearby. The children were excited, crowding around but maintaining